You don't have to look very far in veterinary medicine to find people who are not having a good time or hating on clients. It's just post after post after post on social media of vets making fun of clients, of their behaviour, and it's just so self-destructive. It is one of the most short-sighted, dumb things that a professional could be doing. Firstly, it's quite possibly bringing the profession into disrepute to bash clients in public forums. And, you know, we worry about trust, we worry about integrity in this profession, and rightly so, because we trade on those things. All humans in all relationships trade on the founding principle of trust. They're built on trust. So what message is it sending out when there's, you know, professionals on public sites who are actively ripping into clients and their behaviour? And they're doing it for personal gain. They're doing it for likes. It's clickbait. They're doing it to build their own brand. But what they're doing is they're throwing the profession under the bus at the same time. And every time we do that, like if somebody were saying something negative about you, either openly or worse behind your back, that you didn't know about it, but in a public way, which is exactly what this is, then what would that do to the relationship? So if I, as a professional, I'm putting out content on a publicly available site, whether it's social media or a blog or something like that, and my clients get wind of that, like, I've got a problem. Because now my clients are thinking, well, you know, this guy doesn't respect us, this guy doesn't think that we're trustworthy, this guy just thinks we're all trouble. And already the relationship's starting from a difficult position. And it's going to be very hard to recover from that as a relationship. And it's not just one or two vets that are doing that. It is, you know, you can scroll for about 3 seconds before you'll find a vet who thinks it's great crack to beat up on clients. Now, on the flip side of this is the fact that, yes, I appreciate that client relationships are probably the toughest thing about veterinary medicine. Like, I think the medicine bit is the bit that we're trained for. The medicine bit becomes easier with time. The medicine bit is where you've invested all the energy in. But you don't get to do the medicine bit very well unless you get to do the client bit very well. And it has been a long while that I and other very prominent public people in the profession have been saying this to veterinarians all over the world. And yet we still see a huge underinvestment or appreciation for how important those skills. So let me frame it this way. When you start your career, there is a pot of sand, like a sand glass, an hourglass running, about how much energy and enthusiasm you're going to have for that. And the thing that's going to drain or speed that sand glass up the fastest are going to be difficult relationships, either with clients or with your team. And this, I'm not making that as a statement and pulling that out my butt. That is evidence-based. We have studied new graduates in graduate academies. So we've gathered the data on the things that energize our graduates and the things that deplete our graduates. And they're the same things as energize humans or deplete humans in any case, because graduates are humans. They're just less experienced humans, younger humans for the most part. And so if we know that toxicity in our relationships is one of the things that speeds up that sand glass, then it makes all the sense in the world to invest time and energy in getting better at those relationships. Because the big mistake that everybody's making, or anybody who's, certainly the people who are going on Instagram and bashing clients for a cheap laugh or to get likes, all they're saying to me is that they have got very poor client engagement skills. Because the truth of the matter is, most clients, if they're treated well in the first instance, are actually pretty reasonable, okay? we must understand that yes, clients are in stressful situations when they're coming into us, unknown situations, that we would also be stress heads if we were in a situation where something we love deeply was walking into our exam room, or walking in, something we loved deeply was injured or ill, or there was something unknown about it. Like, it's a natural thing for human beings to get stressed in that situation. Fight or flight is activated. So first of all, being empathetic to that kind of helps. But if our reaction, if our interaction with clients starts from a place of these people are all bad, these people are all difficult, then what do you think that attitude is? That attitude is going to be picked up by the client. And how do you think that relationship's going to go from that point? It's going to go less well than it should go. So there's really is a different set of skills that vets need to pick up if they're going to have better quality client interactions. And chief amongst those are listening skills. We talk a lot about how empathetic we are in this profession. Honestly, I'm not sure that I see a lot of that in evidence in the exam room. And it's very hard to be empathetic when your armor is on because you're expecting a battle, because your fight or flight is on. And empathy's, when you're expecting war, empathy's not really something that tends to show up. So we've got the capacity for it, but we've got to create the conditions where it gets a lot easier for us to put ourselves in the client's shoes. And every time I see somebody put a post out there where they bash a client, then they're doing the exact opposite of that. They're creating distance from that client, and they're getting further from walking a mile in their shoes. And that's just plain dumb. Right? Because not only are you killing your own brand equity with clients, you're killing the professional brand equity with clients. So when we say things and there are, we see again and again, the media take opportunities to beat us up, and they interview vets, and vets say that there's no trust left in this profession. That is hogwash. That is unsupported by large sets of data that say veterinarians remain the most trusted of professions after nurses, right? The trust level in this profession is still extremely high. I don't think it's as high as it was, but the way to keep it high is to be better at listening, be better at communicating, be better at empathizing, and be better at collaboratively problem solving with clients, so that the things we're recommending for them fit the shape of not just the clinical disease, but the whole social conditions that are going on around that animal. And that requires soft skills. That requires us to invest in communication skills. It requires to invest in emotional intelligence. It requires to invest in speaking in plain English and understanding how to communicate with lay people, because we're not there passing exams. Once you've passed the NAVLE or sat your finals, you are a veterinarian. Okay, you need to think like that, but you don't need to speak like that with the general public because they don't understand you, right? So if we come off as patronizing, if we come off as not listening, we've already caused ourselves a great deal of trouble, and that is to the detriment of the animals we're caring for. It's the detriment of us, it's the detriment of our practices, and I think that is one of the root problems that we've got to deal with. So yes, I talk a lot about the need for mentorship to be much better, but mentorship in how to gather these skills should be ground zero for repairing any damage that's been done to trust and stopping the public bashing of clients, because that is a madness that's just inflicting worse things on us. We just can't do that. And I'm going to finish up this blog today, this post today, with just recounting my experience in practice with my own dog. Okay, so I live quite far from my practice. It's not very convenient to go to my practice. And so my dog needed a booster vaccination. And also I've discovered a little lump on him. And so we took him up to the clinic. Now I made this appointment about 3 weeks ago. Something didn't feel right when I made the appointment. We were very busy, there was a lot of stuff going on, fair enough. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go back in. I'm going to check that they got the appointment right and that our details were right, because it didn't feel right, but it didn't feel like the moment to check everything was okay then, because they were stressed and busy. So I went back in a week later, And sure enough, literally everything was wrong. My name was wrong. The dog's name was spelled incorrectly. The only thing that was correct was actually the time that they'd booked the appointment. Okay, so I thought I'd resolved all of that. Put the correct address in, put the correct phone number in. My name was corrected, and I literally spelled everything out. So my partner goes in to take the dog in for the vaccines today, and shows up, and they don't have a record of the name. They've got the appointment is correct, but they've still misspelled the name. The home address was incorrect. Literally everything that I'd been in to make an appointment twice was still wrong. So how did that make my partner, who also happens to be a veterinarian, feel? Certainly not building trust in this system. And this is the first time that we're visiting and using this practice. Go into the exam room. The assistant was nice enough, but there was zero history taken, a cursory physical examination, and our dog was formerly a street dog in Miami, spent a lot of time on the streets, has 2 suspicious lumps that both of us as veterinarians think that could be a problem for a dog that loves being out in the sun and has been in Florida for a lot of its life. So we ask if they'll biopsy it, and the veterinarian said, well, they don't seem to be bothering him, so we'll just leave it and monitor for just now. Now that's just not clinically the right answer. Minimally take an aspirate. Probably better still with these lumps, which may be benign, may be malignant. We're worried about them. Get them off, right? Get some histopath done, because they're small. It's an early pickup. Great. Sitting on this and waiting for it just isn't the right answer here. So you've got very proactive clients in this situation who can afford the work, who are asking for the work to be done, being dismissed in the exam room. And the trust is completely evaporated there. So my partner isn't happy to go back to that practice. Okay. So the experience from start to finish was poor. And we're coming at it from, we understand and empathize with the work volume and some of the struggles that vets have. But it's just a shining example of how, through almost every fault of the system, that was a poor 3 touch point system, 3 touch point experience, and that relationship's done. Like that practice, we won't be using, and we'll have to walk past that practice to go to a different practice, but we will, because the level of competence in the things we were engaging with out the front inspires zero confidence in the things that we know will be harder to do in the back. Now that may be fair, it may be unfair. I'm just not willing to take the chance with a family member that that's the case, okay? We're not going to make a song and a dance of it. We're not going to complain. We're not going to get up in their faces and be mean about it. But the truth of the matter is, that's what crap customer service looks like, and that's how you make clients upset. There was no listening, there was dismissive, and there was just absolutely appalling administration things there. That's a 2 out of 10 experience. You can't have happy customers. And when you jump online and you gaslight customers because they're upset about experiences like that, that's why there's an erosion of trust in this profession. We got to do better. It comes down to training. And actually, I don't think that I would throw necessarily individuals under any buses here. This is a systemic issue. The training from those reception team members was clearly inadequate, because I don't believe humans would get that sort of level of stuff wrong that much. Okay, that was a reception desk that was mobbed, phones ringing, hard to do a good job in that circumstance. So that's a training and a systems issue. The same thing with the exam room experience. There was almost no recognizable elements of what I would consider to be a 7-step approach to getting good outcomes for pet and patient there. The very thing that I teach people the most in veterinary medicine. There was just almost no evidence of it in place whatsoever. And that is a training and a systems issue. So as leaders, our job is to make sure that we've got the systems in place, that we train people, that we verify that that training has been adequate, and then we let people do the job. And we make sure that in doing that, we maximize their chances to have positive client interactions, and that we are constantly vigilant against the negativity that can creep in against clients, and we address the underlying causes of it. Because in most occasions, and I would suggest it's only about 5% of clients that are actually genuinely mean enough that it's them. Most human beings, they're like cats. You treat them nice, they're nice back. You treat them mean, you're going to hospital. Okay, so they're not like cats. But they're not going to use your practice. They will say negative things on social media about you. So we've got so much more agency in this than we think. I wanted to share that experience that I've had in the last week about watching endless vets trolling clients and then having an actual experience that clients would normally have and thinking, yeah, I'm not sure it's clients here. So take action. Are you sure that your practice is delivering, an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 client experience alongside your clinical experience? If you're not, then I think you should be looking. Don't believe your hype. Like, verify it. Get in the exam room, check it, speak with your customers, do net promoter scoring on your customers, and ask them what their experience is like. Stand out in your wait area and observe. In 3 seconds flat, I was able to pick up that this reception area was a bit of a hot mess, okay? That's on us as leaders. So there's plenty we can do about this, but we've got to take action. All right, this will no doubt get under some people's skin. Good. Hopefully it motivates some action. What do you got? What do you think? What do you do to train people? Let me know. Better still, work on it with your team, because actually they're the people that need to know. Take care, guys. Till the next episode. There you are.
Okay.
Hi. Welcome to my office. I'm the 13th Duke of Wimborne. Another target reference comments. Right, which one first?